A bright idea branching out and the importance of education. Outside clinics, hundreds of senior citizens waited in the hot Himalayan sun for medications. My grandfather was among the elderly waiting for his diabetes pills, and just as he received them, I glanced over to see the bill my grandfather was holding in his hand with a sickly look on his face. The bill revealed that 25 pills cost 4,000 rupees, equivalent of $40. At 2 to 3 pills a day, this would only last him less than a week. My grandfather is a retired governmental worker who only makes approximately $600 monthly from his pension, and the prescription was only one of four needed daily intake pills. There was no possible way he could afford all his medications, pay for my grandmother's medicines, she also has diabetes, and still be able to keep afloat. I was never able to erase the zeros from that bill, and I was determined to not let this thought burden me, but rather inspire me to come up with a solution. Once I was accepted into a biomedical engineering program at Tufts University alongside Professor Prantini, I was able to learn about the mechanics of near-infrared spectroscopy. I entered the lab wanting to do something for my grandparents and many others worldwide. Far too many people are forced to pay more than they can afford for medication they need to survive. Through my research and education, I've learned about an onset disease of diabetes known as peripheral arterial disease, PAD, and have been working on developing a detection method and device that will detect PAD early. This device will also allow us to measure the effectiveness of different medications, lower their prices, and make these drugs accessible everywhere. Engaging in my research project for the last 3 years has been an extraordinary journey that has allowed me to mature and grow not only as a young scientist, but also as a person. Through my experiences, I've had several opportunities to expand my education and understanding of biomedical engineering in order to apply what I've learned towards the betterment of society. I've not only been able to publish my work with the American Association for the Advancement of Science, but I've also been able to support my family and meet with the President of Nepal regarding my research and through my nonprofit. Since my realization of the inflation of medicine in Nepal, I've seen that the inherent problem with inequality and instability is through the government and those who lead it, prompting me to begin a nonprofit towards the expansion of Nepali education because education is the basis of worldly change. In 2016, I traveled to Nepal creating workshops in 9 Nepalese K-12 schools focusing on team building, cooperation, and public speaking after the 2015 Nepalese earthquake. This was an international project I completed due to the helplessness I saw. Since then, I've been in close contact with school administrators and students regarding the updates on the projects, and I'm currently planning a trip for summer 2021, COVID-19 permitting. Performing community service is important to me because I've been the person receiving the service from the community. After finally making it to the National Science Fair during my senior year of high school, I couldn't afford to go. I discussed my financial situation with my high school science director, and he came up with a plan to ask school and public officials to provide me funds in order to represent a school. Medford City Hall honored me and also paid for my flight, hotel, and any other expenses I needed during the fair. I was and am still beyond thankful for my community, as they allowed me to experience a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I credit my accomplishments to my education, especially because I'm in the US. I will be the first person in my entire family on both sides to graduate from an American college, as my mother dropped out of the 7th grade in Nepal and my dad went to the army. I believe education is not only the key in changing the lives around you through service, but also changing your own life. If my mother had more education, she would have been able to better understand her emotions and communicate, avoiding the causation of much trauma and pain in my family. To this day, I am still working at the Do It Lab, conducting research weekly, getting one step closer to early detection of PAD and onset diabetes. One of the most influential Nepalese poets, Bhanubhakta Acharya, wrote about the value of community service and education in his famous poem about a neighborhood grass cutter. I've translated it. He gives his life to cutting grass and earns little money. He hopes to make a well for his people so he will be remembered after death. This high-thinking grass cutter lives in poverty. I have achieved nothing, though I have much wealth. I have neither made rest houses nor a well. All my riches are inside my house. This grass cutter has opened my eyes today. My life is worthless if the memory of my existence fades away. Meaning, the life of one who serves their community is eternal because their actions are immortal in comparison to someone who lives for their own success. These organizations I am a part of and founded are going to outlive me in age and in number, and that is exactly the goal.